Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Hello friends, so there's a lot of action going on in the last few days with respect to CA final AFM November 23 paper. I will not take names of faculty because I don't think it is fair and ethical. But I definitely believe that there is some clarity that students require, which from my perspective, whatever I can provide. If you can see, there are a bunch of books also here. I want to highlight a few things. I want to clarify a few things, and I want to share my view, what I think, and what I think you should be doing, and how you should proceed in case of these kind of problems, right? Now, let me split the issue into two parts. One, there is a issue with respect to questions. Second, there is a issue with respect to evaluation. Okay, let us keep those two aspects separate. I will handle both of them independently. I will consider both the aspects, and then I will take you through what my opinion is, right? So first, coming to this question, which has created a lot of bawal. Bawal means a lot of activity, hyperactivity, and all of that. This is this binomial model question. Binomial model question where they have said calculate the 3 months call option by using binomial method and risk neutral method and the risk neutral method, and then they have said, are the calculated values under both the models same? Ideally, they are supposed to be same. Why they are supposed to be same, we will discuss. Also, still clearly state the valuation of options under these, basis of valuation of options under these models. Okay. Now, I will first take you through, what I think the solution is, what I think the way this particular problem has to be solved. Then I will take you through why I think that is correct. I will give you explanations from institute material side. What is it that the ICAI has actually said? Okay. Then I will take you through basis, primary source. There's something called as primary source when you do some kind of research or investigation, right? So I will take you through primary source, some books of great authors, phenomenal authors. I will take you through some papers published in 1979. Okay, I have done a bit of research, so I will tell you what exactly the situation is. And then, I'll give my opinion, and then we'll move to the evaluation part, what is the institute has done. Okay, so first up, how do you think this has to be solved? Binomial and risk neutral. So, if you look at ICAI material, you can see something called option valuation techniques. This is in, I think, page 9.21. What have they clearly said? First, there is something called as a binomial model, 7.1. Then they have said something called as risk neutral method. Now, I am not getting into whether ICAI is right or not, that will be independent discussion. They have clearly specified that there are two methods, binomial and risk neutral, and they have computed something also. Now, let us come down further. In binomial method, what have they done? They have given stock prices. This is illustration 1. These are various stock prices. From the stock prices, they have computed value of P. They have computed U, D, then what is R, and they have computed P. So, because I am trying to clarify this and specify this because I heard one YouTube video of a faculty, again I will not take names, some famous faculty, who believed that in binomial model you cannot compute the value of P using R minus D by U minus D. In ICAI material they have done that. Now, you may disagree with ICAI material, okay, that is a different aspect. As a, as an independent person you may disagree, but I will show you also proof in terms of various books why this P is equal to R minus D by U minus D is part of the binomial model. Okay, so it is a part. If anybody has solved as P is equal to R minus D by U minus D, they should get marks. They should get marks. Okay, so coming back. Okay, first we look at only binomial, okay, as I discussed. And please also note in this particular question, they have said use the binomial model to calculate fair value of option with following characteristics. You should also indicate the composition of the implied riskless hedge portfolio at the valuation date. They have asked you to do a valuation using binomial method, and then they have said compute a riskless hedge portfolio. So, it basically means that riskless hedge portfolio is another way of doing it. Okay, it is another way, whether it is part of binomial, through binomial, not through binomial, independent discussion, but that is another part of it. That is not necessarily just binomial. That is, I am clarifying this because there is some other faculty who has said that, that is the only way. Okay, so please, hear me out fully and then take your own informed decision. So, P is equal to U minus D by R minus D, they have done that and they have computed. So, how should our question be solved? So, what I would do is, first binomial method, and I would actually draw a binomial tree because that is the most important thing according to me if you are doing solving it by binomial method. So, current market price, how much is it? 420, right? Okay, you call this as S0. S0U is how much? 450 K is 450, S0U is how much, which is high price, the maximum price expected in 3 months is 525, S0D, S0U and S0D is 378. Okay. E power RT, they already have computed 1.0202 something, right? Yeah, 1.0202. This is given data, right? Then you draw a binomial tree. Spot S0 is 420, S0U, this will go up to, or you can call it, instead of S0U, you can call it SU because it is not on day 0, right? So it is SU. SU is how much? 525. SD is 378. Okay, this is node A, this is, let's me call node B and node C. Okay, strike price is rupees 450. So at node B, value of option to buy, what is the company name? Omni Limited. Omni Limited shares is max of 0, 525, or you should actually write the formula, max of 0, spot minus exercise price. This is max of 0, 525 minus 450, that is 75. At node C, value of option is max 0, 378 minus 450, that is max 0, 378 minus 450 is minus 72, that is equal to 0. Right, option value. This is 75, this is 0. Okay. Then once you have these two numbers, you should say under binomial method, okay, under binomial method, a portfolio of stock, loan and call can be created to value the option, call option, using principle of no arbitrage. Okay, using principle of no arbitrage. You have correct. This is one way. In such a case, probability of up move is calculated using formula P is equal to e power RT minus D by U minus D. Now this is not my invention, this is exactly what ICAI has solved in binomial model question, where they have said one is higher, other is lower. Assume that the probability of two values materialize is known. In such a situation, hedge position can be established by buying the stock and writing options. So they say the binomial model also has this particular probability, and probability can be found out. It is not my invention, I will show you from books also. Okay, so you compute P is equal to 1.0202 minus D. So where is D? Here you have to compute value of D. U is equal to, what is U? U is 525 by 420, D is 378 by 420. Okay, U is equal to 525 by 420, which works to 1.25. D is equal to 378 by 420, which is 0.9%, 0.90 or 90%, right. P is equal to 1.0202 minus 0.90 divided by 1.25 minus 0.90. This will be 1.0202 minus 0.9 divided by 0.35 is equal to 34.3428 or 3429 percentage. So some of students have rounded it off at 34. Some have rounded it off at 34.34. I think 34.34 is fine. I have purposely written 34.3429. Okay. If you write these four numbers, because the answer that you get is 0.3434285. Okay. You can take 4 decimals and round off and you can get 34.3434. If the institute has not given marks, obviously we have to question the institute. Okay, we have to apply for revaluation. Of course, ICAI doesn't have revaluation, but we should, as a principle, ICAI should come up with a principle of revaluation, because I think that is very, very required under these kind of circumstances. Okay, it is very, very weird and outdated, and I mean, I don't want to use colorful language, but I think it is very, very weird that they don't have a revaluation, especially when they make mistakes. Okay, I will also have a counterpoint for this coming up. Okay, so you get P is equal to this, 1 minus P is equal to 65.66, right? Because 1 minus 34.34 is 65.66%. Now you got these values. Under binomial model, value of call is equal to present value of future payoffs, present value of expected future payoffs. Okay, what is expected? Multiplied by probability. So, call value is equal to present value. For doing present value, you divide by 1.0202. That I will write the formula. So, call value is equal to P into payoff high plus 1 minus P into payoff low divided by e power RT, that is 34.34% into what is the payoff high is 75 into 75 plus 65.66 into 0, because that is value of when the option is worthless, by 1.0202. So, that will be 34.34 into 75 divided by 1.0202. You will get rupees 25.245 or 25. Okay, you can round off. Okay, so friends, value of call option is this. Now, there was one particular faculty who specifically said that this should be done only under delta hedging method, or this should be done under a replicating portfolio method. Binomial includes all of those. I mean, I will show you stuff, but binomial also includes probability based method. Okay, so that is given in CA Institute material only. Okay, and it is given in other places also. Anyway, so this is one part. Now coming to next part, risk neutral valuation. What is risk neutral valuation? In our material, again I will come back to material. So even in binomial, they themselves have given a riskless hedge portfolio and all that, but they have given only when they have asked specifically create a riskless hedge portfolio. Otherwise, their solution is fully probability into payoff, probability into payoff, and so on and so forth. Okay, it is all led by probabilities into payoff. It is not led by anything else. So if anyone says that you cannot have probability, I disagree 100%. Okay, because institute material itself says. Then risk neutral method. In risk neutral method, the key thing that you are supposed to identify, what you are supposed to do is, first ICAI has made multiple blunders. This is not 1976, and this is 1979 paper. Okay, I will show you the paper also. The basic argument in risk neutral approach is that since valuation is based on arbitrage, is therefore independent of risk preferences, one should be able to value options assuming any set of risk preferences and get the same answer as using binomial model. This is a simple model. Using this, we can derive risk neutral probabilities and apply the same probabilities in the binomial model. Okay, so in this, you see what they have done. Let the probability, so and here they have applied the probabilities to the price of the share. They have not gone into the valuing of the option. You will notice that subtle difference. They have said, you know, this is illustration 2 or whatever, I think some example, no, just before illustration 2. It is expected either to go up to 60 or go down to 40, and risk-free rate is 5% when the strike price is 50. Okay. Now, how did they, what is the principle, underlying principle here? let the probability that the price increase is minus P be upward movement, 1 by P will be price decrease. Value of stock today must equal the present value of the expected return after 1 year discounted rate, risk-free rate. So this is what you have to state in risk neutral valuation. So under risk neutral valuation, I am writing purposely short form. You please don't write short form in exam. The present value of future price, right? What is the exact wording they used? The value of the stock today must equal the present value of the expected price after 1 year, discounted at risk-free rate. Value of stock today is equal to present value of expected future stock price. Using this, you find out the probability. So what are they saying? What is the value of the stock today? Stock today value is at 420. Okay. What is the expected future price? You have either 525, which has P probability, or 1 minus P probability, which is 378. And this present value, which is by 1.0202. I am skipping steps. Don't skip steps in exam. This is for me to move faster. Okay. So this price of 420 into 1.0202 is equal to 525P plus 378 minus 378P, or 420 into 1.0202, 420 into 1.0202, which is 428.484 is equal to minus 378 is equal to 525P minus 378P. So 428.484 minus 378 is 50.484 is equal to 525 minus 378 is equal to 147 P. So P is equal to 50.484 divided by 147, or P is equal to 34.342857%. We have got the same number here. In binomial model, you use P is equal to e power RT minus D by U minus D. In risk neutral valuation, you basically say that current stock price is equal to the present value of expected values of future stock prices. You have to basically state this. This, according to me, is the answer based on what? Based on Institute on study material. See what they have done. They have done a very similar problem. It has a 520, 500 and 420, 500 and 400 and say 1.0202. I think they actually took the problem from this and made some modifications in exam. Okay. So let the probability of attaining maximum price be P, then 500 minus 420 plus P into 400 minus 420 into 1 minus P is equal to 420 into so on and so forth. So basically they did this entire thing same. Okay, this is what you are supposed to answer in exam as per Institute ICAI material. Whether it is correct or not from a technical perspective, I will explain. Now, after having done this, P is this one. How do you value the value of call? Under risk neutral valuation. What is this? Under risk neutral valuation, call value. What have they done here? See, value of call option. They have directly taken the payoff multiplied by the probability divided by the present value. Basically, same thing as what we have done in payoff for binomial model. Call value is equal to 34.34% into 75 divided by 1.0202. You will get the same number, which is I am just checking it for your sake, 24.247. Okay. So in both the cases, you got the same value. So this is how you are supposed to solve ideally, and this is what the examiner is supposed to give you marks for. Okay. Under risk neutral valuation, you have to state this. Value of the stock today is equal to present value of the expected future price of the stock. You have to state this. Right. Now coming to the next part of the question. What is the next part of the question? Calculate under these two. Then state clearly the basis of valuation under these two models. What is the basis of valuation under these two models? So the basis of valuation, I will tell you, under binomial, basis of valuation is principle of no arbitrage, okay. Under risk neutral valuation, The binomial method breaks down time into potentially very large number of time intervals or steps. This requires use of probability in future discrete projections to facilitate innovation, district artificial European option, all of that. Assume that probability of two values is known in such situations, so on and so forth. Pricing of options should be such that the return equals the risk-free rate. Assume that the probability of two values to materialize is known. In such a situation, a hedge position can be established by buying stock and trading options. This will help offset price movement. At each step, it is assumed that the stock price will either move up or down. The price of the option should be such that the return equals a risk-free rate. So, you basically say principle of no arbitrage, pricing of option is equal to, I am again using short form, don't write like this in exam, value of a portfolio of similar returns value of a portfolio giving similar returns, okay, as option. So, present value of such a portfolio at risk-free rate or whatever rate, because I will show you again why I am saying risk-free rate or any rate, at risk-free rate is value of call. Okay, this is the basis. Now, under risk neutral, what is the basis? Okay, I will clean this up and I will again show it to you. The risk neutral technique can be used to value derivatives. It was developed by so and so. The basic argument in risk neutral is that since valuation is based on arbitrage and is therefore independent of risk preferences, one should be able to value options assuming any set of risk preferences and get the same answer as binomial model. This is a simple model. Using this model, we can derive risk neutral probabilities and apply the same probabilities in binomial model. Okay. So, what is the key word? Risk neutral is that since value is based on arbitrage, it is independent of risk preferences. Value of option is independent of risk preferences. Okay. Value under a risk neutral environment will be same as value under no arbitrage principle. Okay, principle, not PAL. Okay, no arbitrage principle. Then, okay, get the same answer. It is a simple model. We describe risk neutral probabilities and apply the same probabilities in the binomial model. And you also have to say the value of the stock must be equal to present value of expected price discounted at risk-free rate as follows. Value of stock. Please note here we are not talking about the call option. Value of stock under RN basis is PV of expected value of expected future value of stock. Future value of stock. Okay. You have to basically make this statement. If you write all of this, ideally ICAI should give marks. Okay. And what is the other part of the question? Is there any other part of the question that is left out? Are the calculated values both under the same model? Yes, they both are same, and state clearly the basis we have answered. Now, this is what I think you should answer. Ideally, ICAI should give marks. What has happened for a lot of people, they have given marks random. I think probably the evaluators did not understand, or probably the evaluation key, whatever was given, was probably confused. Okay. Now, keeping this aside, I first want to show you 2-3 books what I am referring. First one is this book called Brealey Myers. Second one is this book called John C. Hull. Okay. Third one is this book by Professor Prasanna Chandra. He is from IIM Bangalore. He is a very renowned author. I will take you through all 3 books. First, let me get to this Options and Futures by John C. Hull, who is considered god of all of this. Okay. So, in this, let us look at chapter 12. Okay. I am trying to highlight a few things. A useful and very popular technique for pricing option involves constructing a binomial tree. It is a diagram representing different possible paths, followed by stock price over the life of an option. The underlying assumption is that the stock price follows a random walk. So, he says underlying assumption is random walk. In each step, it has certain probability of moving up or down and certain probability of moving up or down by a certain percentage amount. It is in the limit. I think I will not use this, I will use the other one. In the limit, as time step becomes smaller, this model is same as Black-Scholes-Merton model. We will be discussing in subsequently in the appendix of this chapter, so on and so forth. The material in this chapter is important for a number of reasons. First, it explains the nature of no arbitrage arguments that are used for valuing options. Second, it explains binomial tree numerical procedure that is used widely for valuing American options. Third, it introduces a very important principle known as risk neutral valuation. It is introducing to a new principle called risk neutral valuation. So, basically they have talked about binomial tree and risk neutral valuation independently. Okay. Now, if you come to binomial tree, one-step binomial tree, if you look at this one-step binomial tree, they have used this entire delta wala logic, which is basically delta hedging or a portfolio replication approach, delta number of shares or portfolio replication approach. Okay, both of them will give the same answer. We have discussed this in the class. I am not going to get into details of that. But then, for people who think that it is only portfolio hedging and delta portfolio replication or delta hedging and doesn't contain the probabilities related aspect, please come down. A generalization for the same thing. They have actually derived P is equal to e power RT minus D by U minus D as part of what? As part of binomial. As part of one-step binomial model, no arbitrage argument. So, that P probability is part of this. So, if anyone says that it is not, please, I think we should go through John C. Hull carefully first. Okay, that is first aspect. Now, coming next to other part, risk neutral valuation. They have said, now after understanding binomial, let us understand a very important principle, the pricing of derivatives known as risk neutral valuation. So, it is slightly independent of binomial. It is linked to binomial, but again, it is very grey, right? So, the way it is done, I will show you the other things also. Some authors have very clearly said, risk neutral is part of binomial. Some have said they both are linked. Some have said, this can be done using that. Okay, ICAI has taken a position which I shown you in their study material also. They have said binomial is one method, risk neutral is another method. Now, if you come to risk neutral valuation, here also, please read what they have said. The risk neutral world has two features, pricing of derivatives. Expected return in a stock is the risk-free rate. Discount rate used to pay off, expected payoff an option is the risk-free rate. In this, they are saying expected future stock price is basically your futures price. So, they basically have said the same thing what we discussed in the CA material, that is you see here expected price of the stock in future is probability into up move 1 minus probability into spot price into down move. They have done this entire thing. This is what is given in the CA Institute material. So, to that extent CA Institute is not wrong, but they have unnecessarily complicated and other authors also have done that. I will show you. Now, what have they done? The one-step binomial example revisited. So, they now have integrated this particular binomial model and this risk neutral valuation, wherein they found out the P value and then using the P value valued the option using the same way in which we used in binomial. So, basically what it says is, and please note here, in a risk neutral world, this should be discount risk free rate, the value of option is so and so. This is the same as the value obtained earlier, demonstrating that no arbitrage arguments and risk neutral valuation gave same answer. So, this is John C. Hull. So, basically they both are different, right? It is not that one is a subset of the other, but there is a strong linkage. Okay, there is a strong linkage. Okay, beyond this, I would not want to get into this particular details of John C. Hull because it's a ocean. Okay, now this is John C. Hull. Now coming to other thing. Now, I have here with me Mr. Prasanna Chandra's book. Okay, in Prasanna Chandra's book, this is Professor Prasanna Chandra, this is I think 10E, edition 10E, Financial Management Theory and Practice, 10E. I am referring to page 10.14 where he says, and I am reading the summary. Thus, we have two ways of calculating the value of an option in binomial world. Option equivalent method, that is find a portfolio of shares and loan that imitates the option in its payoff. Since the two alternatives have identical payoff in the future, they must command the same price today. So, you do this replicating portfolio where the shares are delta shares. Okay, that is one method. Second method, risk neutral. Assume that the investor is risk neutral, so the expected return on the stock is the risk-free interest rate. Calculate the expected future value of the option and discount it risk-free rate. Okay, so according to Mr. Prasanna Chandra, it is very clear that option equivalent method, which is our replicating portfolio or in binomial or delta hedging, whatever you wish to call it, and risk neutral method are independent. Now, in all his solutions, he has talked, and this whole thing risk neutral and binomial, they have very clearly said in his binomial method he has used, I am showing page number 10.12, even in his binomial method he found out delta, he found out B, In his binomial method, he used primarily the delta shares wala portfolio method. Okay, so this is Mr. Prasanna Chandra. I am keeping this aside. Okay, they have not even discussed probability in binomial method as per Mr. Prasanna Chandra, whereas I showed you in John Hull how it is done, I showed you in ICAI how it is done. Now, coming to Brealey-Myers. In Brealey-Myers, they have also said binomial method. In binomial method, they have said option delta used, what is option delta? Present value of share. So, basically they have done, on binomial method, they have done everything about using option delta or replicating portfolio. Okay, these three, we have seen. Now coming to the final one, what I want to show you. This is 1979 paper. March 1979, revised in 1979, paper by John C. Cox, Stephen Ross and Mark Rubinstein. John Cox and Stephen Ross in 1976. Okay, it is not 76, it is 79. So, this is the original paper that was published, wherein this whole binomial, risk neutral, all of this came up. Let us see what is there in this. So, they themselves acknowledge that other people have worked on this, like William Sharp, and there was one more gentleman whose name they give, Rendleman and Batter. Okay, Sharp and Rendleman and Batter, these guys also have come up with something. These guys have, so John Cox, then Stephen Ross and Mark Rubinstein have worked on something like that. Something what was developed by Sharp and Rendleman. Okay, basic idea, you see, this is, they have not talked about what approach is this, but they have said simple discrete time option pricing formulas. Discrete means step 1, step 2. Continuous means where, if you remember when we were discussing about what is the continuous data and discrete data is where there is specific end to the data, whereas continuous data is, it can be anything, weights of all the human beings in the world. You can have somebody at 88.1, 101, 102, 103, 104, like that, infinitely small. So, data is not, there is no breakage in data, whereas if you look at discrete data, discrete means there is A, then there is B, then there is C, which is basically your binomial one. Okay. So, in this what they have said, write 3 calls, buy 2 shares, borrow some money, this basically is your replicating portfolio, and they have arrived at S with Q probability, 1 minus Q probability. So, they have in the original one, and they have called it binomial option pricing formula. They have said US with probability Q, DS with probability 1 minus Q. So, basically they have said there is a probability associated with it. Okay. And they have worked on the probability, and then they arrived at the values, and they arrived at delta, then they arrived at how much is the borrowing, and please note, they have said the equation can be simplified by computing P is equal to R minus D by U minus D. So, binomial mein this P is equal to R minus D by U minus D is there as per original model that is propounded in 1979 by Cox, and a bunch of other people. Okay. So, anyone says that that is not part, I completely disagree. I have shown you the original method, and they have then derived that risk neutral. Where is the whole concept of risk neutral coming in? Here in this, only in page 3 that concept of risk neutral is coming in. In fact, P is the value Q would have an equilibrium if investors were risk neutral. To see this note, the expected return on a stock would then be riskless interest rate, I'm sorry, right? And then they have said that the probability in both cases is same. So, probability what you arrive at in the risk neutral valuation as well as what you arrive in e power RT minus D by U minus D, both are same. They have actually said that here, and then they have gone on to other things. They have said that both of them have same probability. So, that also is one point that you have to highlight. Now, my opinion in all of this, right, my opinion, I will summarize this whole thing. My opinion in this whole thing, ICAI will make mistakes. This mistakes will be for 5 to 10 marks for a 100-mark paper. They will be poor quality questioning. They will be, for this 5 to 10 marks, they could be poor quality evaluation. But still there are 90 marks. There are still 90 marks. If you want to pass, don't harp on these 5 marks. There are another, see, your pass mark is 40, you are supposed to get, there are still another 60 marks left, no? Don't harp on these 5 marks alone. Because of these 5 marks, I lost my thing. There are 60 more marks, out of which you are talking only about 5. It is, so you guys at least now get RTI papers. At our time when I cleared CA, I didn't even know what went right, what went wrong. We could apply for evaluation. Life is tough. Life is unfair. I am telling you, life is unfair. Okay, and CA Institute is unfair. You have to live with it. Kya kare? You have started this course, you have to finish it. There will always be issues, there will always be issues. You have to, if you want, apply for revaluation, and ICAI should change, boss. I feel ICAI is being very, sorry to use the word, very moronic or stupid by not doing revaluation. They should do revaluation, and they should allow revaluation. Kya hai, what is this nonsense? It is very clear that they made a mistake. Why don't they allow? Now, you see one more part, okay? I have one more funny thing to tell. What is the actual exam key? None of us know. It is not released. You know what are the suggested answers? Suggested answers are prepared by Board of Studies. Exam key is prepared by exam department. Do you know that both of these are not same? You know that both of these are not same? There is no linkage between those two. You may think that it is all CA Institute. No. They are very clear partitions. Exam department has a different thing. Board of Studies has a different thing. So, just because, suggested answer mein kuch diya hai, that is what it is. Please don't hold on to all those arguments. If it is there in study material and you have solved it, you are ideally supposed to get marks. Ideally, you are supposed to get marks. Please write to ICAI. There are, BOS website or BOS email, examination department email. Please write to them saying that, I was not valued properly. Please write. This is the only way to fight. Okay. And this fight is only for 5 marks out of 60 marks or 10 marks out of 60 marks. Balance 50 marks is there. The reason why I am telling is students have become so negative. They choose to blame on one single small thing. I know it is I won't say that it is very small, but this is not the entire question paper, boss. There are so many other questions also. And please don't go into this negative mode ki, ICAI is waste, their evaluation is waste, that is waste. You have to pass the exam, no? It is not, it is about you passing the exam rather than blaming ICAI. Right. So, my suggestion, friends, I hope I have given a comprehensive view of what is there in material, what are all these books, what do they all say, what is there in the original 1979 paper, whether they both are independent, whether they both are dependent. My understanding is there is a very close linkage. Okay, delta hedging, portfolio replication, and that probability number, all three form part of binomial. Okay, risk neutral valuation is something that is slightly different, but it has a very strong linkage with binomial model. This is my understanding. As far as ICAI material is concerned, I have showed you they have treated binomial independently, risk neutral independently. Now, what will happen because of this? ICAI will become defensive. They will not set tough questions or new kind of questions. They will again choose questions straight from the study material, right? Because all of us are creating bawal, right? Which again is detrimental to students. Because you need new kind of questions. You can't have same old copy paste chapa maro questions from study material. Okay, so this is the summary. My strong suggestion, guys, life is tough. It happens. I know a lot of you may say it is easy for you to say, sir. Arey boss, even then, even if it is easy for me to say, how is it going to change your position? You have to clear CA exam. So please focus on clearing the exam. You have balanced 55 marks where you can score. Please work on scoring that. And again, I am clarifying, my intent is not to hurt any other faculty, but I just want to highlight what is the factual position as per ICAI, as per what I believe is right, as per what all these books are. There is no use of this, dharna, varna and all. We have seen this multiple times, 2020, 1920, what happened also, we all saw. Okay, there is no use of all of this. We all want change. All of us want change in political system also. Is it happening? Kitna bhi kranti karo hoga. It is a gradual process, it will happen. Okay, from your side, please do what is better, which is study. Okay, chalo, all the very best and do well.